Hello, everybody out there on YouTube. We are the Middle-Aged Guys, and we are going to wrap up our thoughts and our overview of Microsoft's E3 2017 press conference, or press briefing, as they put out. This is the one. If you've seen the previous videos that we put out, this is the one where we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the presentation as a whole, our final thoughts, and also about their, all the pertinent details that they went ahead and they revealed to everybody at the end. All right. Let's go ahead and get the introductions out of the way. I'm the Reverend.
The Theme here. I'm Gray Mouse 1.
Okay, let's just be honest. If you've been paying attention to Microsoft all the way up until this point, okay, E3 it's going to be fucking critical to them, okay, as far as not only showing the world that, hey, look, this is what we have to offer, but they're really trying to go out of their way to not only convince gamers, but also anybody who is even curious about picking up an Xbox platform, an Xbox console, that we have something for you, okay? They did a few things that goes toward that. And before we talk about the elephant in the room, the Xbox One X, Project Scorpio, formerly known as, right? Let's go ahead and talk about something that they're adding to Xbox Live and the Xbox capabilities as it goes just in general, all right? For a long time, people have been asking the folks at Microsoft, so you put out the Xbox 360. Is it going to be backwards compatible with original Xbox games? They said no, all right? Or if there is going to be Xbox backwards compatibility, it's going to be on a per-game basis. It's going to depend on patches. But let's just be frank, as far as the support for that went, it was pretty spotty at best, and there was only a very small handful of games that they decided to go ahead and actually support for that particular feature. Come along with the Xbox One, E3 2013 and all of that other stuff, let's just put aside all of the other shortcomings and everything. Again, fans went ahead and asked, look, hey, we didn't get full-fledged backwards compatibility for original Xbox games, all right? Even if it's just you re-releasing digital copies of original Xbox games on the Xbox One, is this something that we can look forward to? At that time, they said no. And again, fans were not happy about it, okay? Because let's just be honest about it, all right? I've got 2 original Xbox systems, all right? I've got 2 of the original 9-pound fucking systems that they went ahead and they put out, okay, back in, what is it? 2001 was when they put it out, okay? Yeah, the Theme has multiple. I know Gray Mouse just got a hold of another one because he had one a while ago. Then, he just got a hold of another one just recently. But I have 2, all right? And generally speaking, even in their not covered by manufactured warranty forms right now, let's just be honest, okay? The folks who have the original consoles, they're looking at consoles that are like 17 years old now, okay? These things are bound to fail eventually, okay? And when it comes to going out of your way and having an avenue to play original Xbox games, there aren't that many options to you. I mean, I know emulation exists, but the truth of the matter is that last time I checked, the emulation for the original Xbox was shitty, okay? Nobody is lauding about being able to sit there and emulate the original Xbox hardware, okay? I'm surprised that they haven't come to the point where that's really, really solid and something that people can do. But, yeah, if you're somebody who's got the original games, like we've been naming off in the laundry list, Crimson Skies, MechAssault, Bloodwake, and all those other type of games that, that we really enjoyed from that particular console and those particular console offerings, there hasn't been many offerings or many options until this E3, okay? Now, what Microsoft went in and did, Phil Spencer went out of his way, and he officially announced that they are going to go ahead and implement backwards compatibility for Xbox, original Xbox game, OG Xbox games. And that should be in place, hopefully, before the end of this year. All right? I got to say, as far as it went, that's been something that's been on the wish list for a lot of fans. But who realistically expected that it was going to pass this particular E3? And it did. What are your thoughts, gentlemen? I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor.
It's funny because I think on our preview, I actually kind of called that. but I didn't think it was actually going to come to pass.
Yeah.
It's cool and all, but there's still questions that involve that. Yeah. What about multiplayer games? Are those servers going to be re-established or no?
Yeah. No.
Now, a lot of people still have the original Xbox, their original Xbox and their original Xbox games, so I wouldn't get rid of my original Xbox just for this. And then the game that they forefronted as far as making the announcement, Crimson Skies. That was a kick in the nuts to me. And the reason being is because we've been asking for a sequel. A sequel. So, to me, that was a little bit of a kick in the nuts, but at least they're going to go along with the original Xbox backwards compatibility. Just as people wanted, just like the Xbox fans wanted, just as gamers wanted. At least they're doing it, so I give that a thumbs up.
Yeah. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate if Grey Mouse doesn't cover it before I get to it. But Grey Mouse, what are your thoughts on the OG Xbox backwards compatibility announcement that was shown today?
I'm more optimistic than what the theme is. I was excited that was announced. I was actually, I mean, you saw the way I reacted when it was announced. At the very beginning, you know, it kind of looked like it was going to be announced, but then they actually took time out and announced it. And I think it was like a stab at Sony a little bit, because they were a little bit of talk saying, you know, who really uses Xbox compatibility game? And Microsoft said, we do. You know, I mean, he mentioned 320 plus games that are on the backwards compatible list. So I'm more optimistic about it. I have been playing a lot of the backwards compatibility games, but like the thing did say, I wouldn't get rid of my Xbox One just yet. And because there's a lot of questions, you know, especially with this game. Is the original disc going to work or not? Or is it going to be a digital release?
No.
And
it's probably going to be a digital release, knowing how they handled the Xbox 360 games. Yeah, it's probably going to be digital.
What about the multiplayer in Crimson Skies?
I don't think that's going to be implemented. That's one of the things that I was concerned about. I don't think that's going to be. I'm not thinking that's.
Well,
okay. So you wouldn't make another Project Gotham or another Crimson Skies. So this is the only way that you're going to be able to play it on your Xbox One
or Xbox X. I think that there's probably going to be some additional features on there, especially that, you know, I mean, Phil Spencer went out there and said one of the most asked about Xbox games of all time is this one. This has a lot of fan base behind it. Although, you know, you go on to say, I mean, maybe this will actually kick them in the butt a little bit and say, hey, you know, the attachment rate on this, maybe they will think about doing a sequel to it.
That doesn't make any sense, because if Phil Spencer just said that that's one of the games that people have been asking for, then he should already fucking know that.
Well, here's the thing. There are a lot of people who ask for things, but there are even less people who actually pay for it.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about that, okay? Now, was there anything else that you want to go ahead and throw in on that, Grey Mouse?
About the OG backwards compatibility, that's going to open up a lot of other games that you know, like you said, what is it, Fusion Frenzy? You got all these other games that I think Fusion Frenzy would be a great backwards compatible game, being that it's a party game anyway. So that would work perfect on the. I mean, I really do. I really think that would be a perfect game for that. And there's several other games in there that would actually be good. But you know, I mean, this is just it's at its infancy. We don't know all the details quite yet. So, am I happy that Microsoft is doing that? Yes. This is a good, strong foot forward to them listening. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I will say, just to play devil's advocate for just a moment, all right, is that there's been a lot of current pushback from vocal gamers, all right, online and in social media about ports of older games, all right, and things like that. My whole view is that if you can go ahead and you can port the game out, and yeah, I know it's a cheap way for you to go ahead and get money, but if you're going to leave that option as an option for other players who haven't had an opportunity to play that game to have access to it and play it on a reliable basis, I say that's great. I am, like we've said before, we're all for options. I'd like to have the option there. Okay. I will say that for a long time, I've been an advocate for backwards compatibility. All right. And I've been somebody who says, oh, hey, that console is backwards compatible. Fuck. That's a plus for me. And I will realize, I will openly state that, yes, I don't use it as much as it sounds I will, especially with how vocal I am about it. Okay. Now, with the funny thing that I'm going to touch on is that, Phil Spencer himself was very, very salty after Ars Technica went ahead and they released a report that, hey, look, backwards compatibility doesn't mean shit to an average player, all right? They didn't say it in those exact words, but they might as well have, okay? Because in their article that we'll have linked to in the description below, that guess what? Xbox One has backwards compatibility built in, but literally after the tens of millions of hours that have been logged in as far as gameplay goes, less than 1% has been spent on backwards compatibility, all right? In which case, Phil Spencer himself shot back, and he was really, he was really adamant. Hey, look, out of all the games that have players concurrently on, within the top 10, there's always one or two, backwards compatible Xbox 360 games that are showing, which, let's just be honest, if we're going ahead and we're gonna offer a scale here, saying that, hey, look, out of all of the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of game played hours as far as digital titles go, that one or two of your backwards compatibility titles, or one of the two of the games that show up in the top 10 on a regular basis is a title that was released last fucking generation. Maybe that means you got to question, is anything I'm offering right now is actually fucking worth it? Okay. That's a different way to frame it, Phil. Let me just put that right now. But yeah, he was really salty about that. And I see why. It's because one of the things that he was just about to unveil, literally less than 48 hours of them publishing that fucking article, was the fact that we are expanding our Xbox One capabilities to include OG backwards compatibility. All right?
One question I got is this a third party that's saying that?
Oh, Ars Technica is they're one of more of the tech-oriented industry sites, okay, when it comes to that,
The reason why I'm asking is I'm not trying to defend anybody, but I would think that Microsoft would have that information internally and have more accurate numbers internally than what a third party or a site that has a thumb up their ass trying to promote other systems that don't like Xbox or whatever would say. And that's one reason why he was even saltier was because that maybe he knows the true numbers, but he's not.
True, but Ars Technica, generally speaking, all right. And the thing is that I'm not a big fan of a lot of the mainstream gaming sites out there, but Ars Technica is more of a technical site, okay, and they're more of an industry site. They're not quite an enthusiast site or a fan site where it's like, oh, they've got a fan base to go ahead and play to. They really look at things like the guys at Digital Foundry do. In fact, Digital Foundry, they publish a lot of their shit directly to Ars Technica and places like them in Eurogamer because they know, hey, these are the tech-oriented sites. These are the guys who actually look at numbers and performance and the site, as far as anybody who's just going ahead and making assumptions about what the landscape of gaming is at. These are the guys who have the numbers to back it up.
But what I'm saying is, though, those numbers could be skewed. I mean, simply because they don't have the true numbers, which will never be public, ever. Those numbers will ever. I mean, Sony has numbers that are secret. Nintendo has numbers that are secret. They're not going to release those numbers to the public knowledge. But like you said, just to sit there and I can see where Phil is coming from, saying, hey, look, that we always have,
one or two titles that are in the top 10 that's played every week as far as whatever's logged in digitally. But look, like I said, that could also be flipped around and say, hey, look, if 20% of the games that people give a fuck about using your system for are from last generation,
or further.
Or further, wait, that can be taken another way. Maybe you don't have anything that's interesting right now to make people go ahead and play things.
That's
so that's the thing about it. That's a double answer. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword.
Wait. So you don't have anything that's interesting now. Make things that are more interesting than what you already have. Or since people are playing shit from last generation and further, why don't you bring those fucking IPs back?
Exactly. And that kind of brings me to my second point here as far as what playing devil's advocate for Phil. And goddamn it, I'd never realized that I would ever go ahead and come to this point and actually play devil's advocate for those guys at Microsoft, okay? But look, when it comes to like Crimson Skies and the other classic titles and stuff like that, okay, backwards compatibility as a thing that's available, what I want is true backwards compatibility. Let your box take my disc, dump it in the fucking tray, and I can play it like it's my other fucking box, okay?
We don't know. That may very well be
That's probably not going to be the case, all right? I'm just being honest here. That's probably not going to be the case. But as far as a marketing tool goes...
So wait a minute. You don't think there was going to be an update for the Xbox One and the Xbox One X for them to incorporate...
Yep. Because they've done that with the Xbox 360 backwards.
That's what they did for the 360. Simple update, maybe it's not simple, but an update could take care of that instead of having it digitally.
Yep, and they've done that on the 360 as well. There are some, you could actually pop your 360 games into it. You got to download a small file, but you could actually have it running on your 360. Not all, I just point out that not all games that are backwards compatible are digital only games. The majority of them are not. I just let you know.
I'm just saying from a corporate standpoint, what are you going to pass up? Are you going to pass up the ability to sit there and nickel and dime somebody for an extra few dollars on a digital download? Or are you just going to go ahead and give out the ability to play any fucking disc that they can pick up from a dumpster for free?
They're going to do both. I really think they're going to do both. I really do.
Just saying, as far as it goes, from what they're going ahead, what I think would be easier for them to go ahead and implement, and what would allow them more control. Okay, and if this is a disc I already own, I'd rather them not have say over that. Okay, so I think what would happen was that if they see that people are going out of their way and they're downloading the files for backwards compatibility to play digital versions or physical versions of older games, all right? And guess what? Right now they say only 22 titles, all right, are going to be capable of being played, okay, as far as the original Xbox titles on Xbox One. Okay, if they see that those titles, if people are willing to go ahead and shell out a few bucks, all right, even if it's just 99 fucking cents to go ahead or $2 to re-download a digital copy of it and play it on a regular basis, then that is a huge marketing tool with very concrete numbers, okay, where they can sit there and they can go back and say, hey, look, we don't have to sit there and say there's a potential to make money here. We've already made money on this.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
That argument is actually, 100%, and I'm not gonna deny that argument. Absolutely. But, like I said, with the Xbox 360 backwards compatible, most of my 360 games, or the ones that are on that list, I put the disc in, I download a small file, and I'm able to play them. And
wouldn't they have done that for the 360, Reverend?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what Grey Mouse is covering right now. Okay,
yeah,
there are certain ones that. Yeah.
I mean, if they were going to do it, why would they do it for Xbox One games? I mean, the first generation Xbox games, but not for the 360.
Well, the thing is that.
Well, see, hang on. Go ahead.
The thing about it, though, is that here's the thing. There's still the one thing that we got to realize is that there's still the amount of R&D that they have to do to go ahead and update whatever is running on the Xbox One to play something that's older. Okay, to act like an older system. Okay, There may be something that's already in there inherently on the system itself that's going to facilitate that, which means that, hey, look, all you need is a small system file that allows it to go ahead and do that. But the thing with all of that is that it all depends on whether or not you can get your hardware acting or emulating a different set of hardware, which is the reason why with the Xbox 360 games that are backwards compatible, they have like over 300 titles, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Xbox 360 library altogether is like almost 900 titles.
And to defend that too, the licensings. That's the toughest thing that Microsoft will run into.
Licensing.
If they don't own the IP, you can almost guarantee you that will not be backwards compatible.
And I will recognize that.
Hang on, and also one thing too I wanted to say is that there's 22 games that are backwards compatible for OG Xbox games. There was a small amount of Xbox 360 games when the backwards compatibility started with that. I think there was 100 games or whatever it may be. So that is not a finite, or that's not a definite end of, okay, we only have 22 games. That I think that's going to grow as time goes on.
Yeah.
When licenses get re-updated or whatever.
Yeah, and I admit that much, and I recognize that much, because there are certain things that are outside of the scope due to legal licensing issues.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not going to fault Microsoft for any of that, because that's completely outside their control. Neither am I going to fault them for not being able to have 100% coverage of all third-party games, because that's outside their control again.
You're an idiot if you think that.
But
that's not happening. Sorry, bust your bubble.
But let me just go ahead and say this right now. Backwards compatibility on the PS3, especially the PS3 FATs. When I think about it, and when a lot of casual consumers think about it, they think, oh, I could take my disc to any one of your systems. I could pop it in, and no questions asked, it's going to go ahead and fucking play. All right?
That's not the case. It's going to happen.
But
that's what I'm saying.
No, I realize that. I'm not asking for that, but I'm illustrating the shortcomings of what's going on. Okay, not saying that it's not going to change, not saying that it's not going to get better, because like I said at the beginning of what I was explaining, is that I like this feature. This is something I think has been missing since day motherfucking one. Okay, let me just be honest. This has been missing since day one. All right. What I will say though is that there are going to be limitations on it, okay, and due to some of the things that people got to realize, some of it is going to be within Microsoft's scope to go ahead and influence. A lot of it is not.
Nope.
Okay.
Exactly.
If I'm thinking about OG backwards compatibility overall, though, I don't think this is a bad thing. Okay, I really don't. I want it to expand. Okay. Is it going to be a major selling point for me right now? No, I have 2 Xboxes, all right, that are both modded, and I can go ahead and I can do my thing on them anyways, all right? And the truth is that both of my units, all of the games that are sitting on the hard drive are games that I have physical copies of, all right? Well, so you can't fucking go out of your way and sit there and say that I'm using it for pirating reasons, because people who may be watching this particular video, all right, will automatically associate that with any sort of modded system. Okay. My point as far as this goes, and I don't know if we have time, we got like maybe 14 minutes left to go ahead and go over into an overview what we thought about everything, is that, look, I really appreciate this. Okay. It's limited in scope right now, but, as far as Phil Spencer's his saltiness and his reaction to it, I know why he was acting that way, okay? And unfortunately, if you're thinking that it was completely out of the altruism of his heart that he's defending your rights as a white knight for you fucking Xbox gamers, that's not completely the case. Because from a corporate standpoint, it serves them much better to charge you, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 a fucking classic game for a digital download than it would just to make the system capable of popping in any XYZ disc and fucking play it like it was an Xbox original hardware.
To add to this real quick, I know we're running short, but to add to this real quick is that this is something that PlayStation does not have. Let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and throw that elephant in the room. And I would, if I was Phil Spencer, I would be salty too. You know, we have a third-party site that's saying all this shit, and this is something that the competition does not have. And then I would get a little salty myself on that. And you know, the Sony fanboys are like, you know, I mean, that just gives more ammo to them saying, "Oh yeah, see, nobody really plays those backwards compatibility. That's not a fucking feature that's missing off the PlayStation 4." No, it's fucking not. Yes, it is a fucking feature that's missing off the PlayStation 4. All games should be backwards compatibility to me, man. I mean, I would love to be able to play my PlayStation 2 games, but that's not happening. Sony's already closed that door ages ago.
Yeah.
So that's just my thoughts on it. And for those that make it sound like it's a little small thing, it's actually pretty big. This is the only. At the beginning of this video, we said we want experiences only. We want experiences that can only happen on the Xbox architecture. This is one of those features that only happens on the Xbox One architecture, as in the Xbox family, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. All right,
Was there any other thing that you wanted to throw on top of it, Theme, before we move on to just doing the overview? Okay. Now, overall, all right, let me just get this out of the way. Overall, I think their conference, I wasn't expecting a lot from their conference. In fact, I think if Microsoft went out of their way, announced half as many games or showed off half as many games within their conference, I would have been just as impressed, all right? We have to be wary, though, of the things that they announced as console launch exclusives and Microsoft exclusives. Because guess what? When they said console launch exclusives, that is just a very fancy way of saying timed exclusives, okay?
Xbox, Windows 10.
Yeah, you know, that's very much a fancy way of what's that? Timed exclusives, okay? And I have to go ahead and throw that out there because the ones that are launch exclusives are, it's like, okay, these games are going to launch first on the Xbox One, and then they're going to show up on PC, Mac, Steam, or PS4 or the Switch, possibly, okay? So we have to pay attention to that, which is one of the things that both Grey Mouse and I saw when we were watching, you know, the actual real-time conference, you know, because we saw those tags come up on those fucking trailers, all right? So this is something that you guys have to go ahead and pay attention to. However, even if I go ahead and I limit it to what was seen on Xbox One and Windows 10, all right, they're still giving me reasons to go out of my way and pick up on Xbox One, all right? Now, let me go ahead and address the elephant in the room. They showed the Xbox One Project Scorpio, now named the X, all right? It's a slick-looking system and everything else. It is set to release November 7th, 2017, and the MSRP is $499. What are your quick thoughts on that, guys?
They had no other alternative to have it at that price.
Yeah.
Period. That's just the way it is.
My thoughts exactly. What I really liked about it was that was first and foremost. And I think they spent a total of 3 minutes on it. They said, boom, here it is. This is what it looks like. Now games. And then I even mentioned that when I was watching it with the Reverend. I was like, dude, they just here it is. This is what it looks like. Let's go in. I mean, they just went straight into games. And I was like, yes, that's what you were supposed to do. They didn't even give us a price until the end, which was great. You know, they just went, here it is. This is what it looks like. X. And then it's like, okay. They went straight to the games. I was like, yep.
I don't think it would have survived if that thing would have been over $500.
And they mentioned that it was the smallest Xbox yet. So it's even smaller than the Xbox.
Smaller than the freaking Slim.
Yep.
That's
well, I mean, let's just be honest. The video cards that they're going in, they're putting on already have mobile equivalents as far as architecture and chip the chip structure and everything else. So when it comes to the Xbox One S, look, $499 was the maximum that they could go ahead and sell it at. And guess what? The fact that they were able to pack it into a package smaller than the Slim, all right. These guys, they are losing probably a minimum of $150 on this fucking thing. All right, I'm telling you the truth. Okay, so but however, I do recognize that they were smart enough to know that, look, anything over $4.99 is going to create such a huge, price of entry, all right, that is not only going to be an issue to casual fans who are just by passing may be interested, but it's going to create an issue with even their dedicated fans, who are going to be willing to go ahead and upgrade or who may be considering upgrading. Because let's just look, if you're somebody who's sitting there who's touting the premium label around, that is fucking useless and counterintuitive to them increasing their market share. Okay? You don't increase market share by closing avenues to the number of people to go ahead and jump in on it. All right?
No.
We already saw them address the exclusivity and the games thing. All right? They did that in spades. Bravo. Look, full fucking applause on my fucking part. Okay? But when it comes to the Xbox X, all right, the XBX, all right, doesn't that look like a drunk dude or somebody who's passed out with a big ass nose? Well, whatever. All right. But, the Xbox X, all right, the Xbox One X, when they sit there and they have it at $4.99, it is just high enough that where they're like, look, this is a brand new fucking console, but it is just low enough that for the folks who are like really considering it, all right, they can go ahead and they're like, all right, I see there's a sizable difference between the Xbox One, the Xbox One X. Let me go ahead. This is probably worth it for the extra $250 because the Slim is only $250. All right, and people got to realize that.
Let's be fair here too. That there's a lot of the space underneath people's TVs. There's a lot of stuff that's there, and having a little small package thing. That's pretty good. I mean, look at behind the theme. Look at all that big, bulky machine. So I'm just saying. But yeah. So yeah, I think that was an excellent price range.
Yeah. What about you, Theme? What did you think about it?
Look, I said it at the beginning. Look, they had no other alternative to have it at that price, or else. Because I wouldn't have bitten to that if it. Even if I'm considering it right now, if it would have been like 600, 700 phones, forget it.
Fuck that. Yeah.
It wouldn't.
I could get a new Galaxy 8 for that, man. I'm just saying.
Shit, $600. Look, for most people, that's not a brand new console. That's fucking rent, okay? Literally, okay?
It's right there. Fuck that. No.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say about the name, Xbox One X. Come on, man. You know what that reminds me of? I'm surprised the X wasn't capital, because that reminds me of, because it has two X's on both sides and the name is in the middle. It kind of reminds me of if your username is already taken online, you put
yeah, your gamer tag. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the rest of the conference, we're really running short here. I thought it was a good overall presentation, to be quite honest with you. I mean, we see games and games and games.
Yeah.
And games.
But again,
the car was there, like we predicted. I knew they were going to show a car.
But look, at least it didn't ascend from heaven. But again, there was nothing absolutely exclusive for the console. I cringed at that.
Yeah, there is.
Worded a different way, I still cringed at that. I'm like, come on, have something in this conference that's going on this and nothing else. I was ready for that.
There's actually one game that's called Tacoma. That's console.
Yeah. The other game is Crimson Skies.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the other thing.
Your point still valid. I'm not arguing.
But I will say for the for the standard gamer, the standard user, all right, that I'm going to acknowledge that majority of the people that are out there are going to own a PC or some sort of smart device that's going to allow them online. Okay, they may not have a gaming capable PC. Not that it takes a lot to go ahead and make their PC gaming capable, but they probably don't have a gaming capable PC. All right, but with this, considering all the things that they went ahead and they went out to do, And yes, Microsoft was backed into a wall. If you were a fan and you don't think they were, I'm not going to disparage you, but really reconsider where your stance was. All right,
Open your eyes.
Yeah, they had to come out showing that. Look, they have third-party, support. They have indie support. They have games that are coming to them first. All right, if not exclusively, at least coming to them first. And like I said, their particular efforts, from what I expected. All right, and I really only give a fuck about the big three, the main first-party publishers, is that they exceeded my expectations. If I were to give them a grade, I would give them a solid A. All right? There are other things that, I'm not going to give them an A+, but I would give them a solid A. Because the thing is that they went ahead. There are a lot of things that they did that I fucking expected, okay? But they went ahead. They did the extra credit, all right? They didn't ace the extra credit, but they did the extra credit. Okay, so I'm gonna give them a solid A. All right, what do you guys think? What if you were to grade it? What would you give them?
I will give them a B. For the presentation alone, the presentation was pretty solid. There was hiccups here and there because it was like some of it was like watch, rinse, repeat of what we've seen before.
Yep.
Including games, car, and so on. But a solid B.
Yep. What about you, Grey Mouse?
I agree with you. I'm going to give it an A. For presentation, I felt that all the things that was shown, there was nothing that drugged the conference down at all. It was just boom, 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 boom throughout the whole conference. So yeah, I think it's a solid showing. And then to retort to what the theme was saying, Sony does that last year. We've seen everything, and this year, I don't know if they're going to.
They had new IPs last year for Sony.
Some.
Well,
but anyway.
Yeah. Well, at least new games. Here, we didn't, really.
So I graded an A.
Yeah. But what we want to know, just to go ahead and wrap this one up, because we're really short on time, what are your thoughts, folks? Let us know what you thought about the conference, what you thought about our feedback. Leave us your comments below. While you're at it, hit like, hit subscribe, especially if you like what we're doing here. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm the Reverend.
The theme here.
And Grey Mouse 1.
Once again, for the benefit of common sense, logic, and gaming. Credits.
Should have been doing this from day fucking one, Microsoft. I'm not going to let that go.